We all know the name Martin Luther King Jr. We know the iconic speeches, but what about the man behind the movement? Today, we're going to go beyond the legend and explore his personal journey, as told in his own words.
So let's dive right in. This autobiography, it's not just a history book filled with dates and events. It's really an invitation to understand the private doubts, the spiritual struggles, and the core beliefs that fueled one of the most powerful movements for justice ever.
You know, to really understand the leader, we have to start with the boy. We got to go back to his childhood in Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where the seeds of his conscience were first planted.
Can you imagine that? You're 6 years old and your best friend's parents tell you you can't play together anymore, just because of your race. That early personal sting of segregation, well, that was a huge moment for him. It's what sparked his first real questions about the deep injustice of the world he was born into.
Now, what's so fascinating here is how these three things all wove together. It wasn't one or the other. His family and church gave him his moral compass, that deep sense of what's right. His mentor, Dr. Mays, showed him how to use that compass to create real social change. And then Gandhi. Gandhi gave him the playbook, the actual method for how to do it, nonviolence.
And just look at this timeline for a second. The man entered college at 15. 15! It just shows you what an incredible mind he had and this insatiable drive to learn. But for King, education wasn't about just being smart. He saw it as a crucial weapon, a tool for dismantling the entire logic of segregation and fighting for equality.
Okay, so now we have this foundation built on faith, mentorship, and intellect. Let's see what happens when it gets put to the test. When a single act of defiance suddenly throws this young, pretty unknown pastor right onto the national stage.
So here's how it went down. It starts with Rosa Parks' arrest. But it wasn't just a spontaneous thing. The community, especially the Women's Political Council, was organized and ready. They launched a citywide boycott. And then they needed someone to lead it. And they chose a 26-year-old Dr. King. It was this incredible chain reaction of courage. And all of a sudden, he's at the head of it all.
And think about this number, 381. For 381 days, that's more than a year. The entire black community of Montgomery just refused to ride the buses. They walked, they carpooled, they stood together. It was just this unbelievable display of the power of collective, nonviolent resistance.
So the victory in Montgomery was huge, but it also meant the challenges were about to get even bigger. The movement set its sights on what was then called the most segregated city in America.
The strategy was the same, peaceful, nonviolent protest. But the response? It was absolutely brutal. Police used high-pressure fire hoses and attack dogs on the protesters, even on children. And because it was all on television, the whole nation saw this stark contrast, and it was horrifying. It completely shocked the public's conscience.
Right in the middle of all this, King is arrested and thrown into solitary confinement. And it's from that jail cell that he writes his famous letter from a Birmingham jail. And this one line just perfectly captures the moral urgency of their fight.
All of this struggle, all of this pressure, it builds and builds to this incredible moment, the March on Washington. Over 250,000 people showed up, and it was here, in front of all those people, that he delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, sending this universal message of hope and equality out into the world.
But you see, winning major victories in Washington didn't mean the fight was over. Not at all. In his final years, King faced brand new challenges, because his vision of what justice really meant, well, it was getting even bigger.
Yeah, this slide really shows you the shift in his thinking. On one side, you have these massive legislative wins, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. But he started to see that new laws weren't enough if people were still poor. So his focus expanded to economic justice for everyone, and he started speaking out against the Vietnam War. He saw racism, poverty, and war as these three connected evils. And then, his life was tragically cut short. And it's so vital to remember where he was when he was killed. He was in Memphis, supporting sanitation workers, poor men striking for better wages. He died fighting not just for racial equality, but for economic justice.
So that leaves us with this question, right? His fight was for justice, equality, and peace. What does that same fight look like in our world today? His legacy, it's not some monument in a museum. It's a blueprint for action. And it's a challenge that's still very much with all of us.